Well, a boy's best friend is his mother.
Kill her, Mommy. Kill her.
We'll tear your soul apart.
Live or die. Make your choice.
What are you waiting for, huh? What are you waiting for?
I'm not even gonna swat that fly. I hope they are watching. They'll see. They'll see and they'll know. And they'll say, why, she wouldn't even harm a fly.
They're here.
I met this 6-year-old child with this blank, pale, emotionless face. The blackest eyes. The devil's eyes. I spent 8 years trying to reach him, and then another 7 trying to keep him locked up because I realized that what was living behind that boy's eyes was purely and simply evil.
Come on, hypnotize me. Come on.
No.
Why not? What's the worst that can happen? Close your eyes. What the hell did she do to me?
The man's switch got flipped. He's a receiver now. He can't stop it. He can't slow it down. He can't even figure it out.
Whatever door you open, I want you to shut it.
Stir of Echoes, rated R.
All right, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Back to the Blockbuster with your host Gaius and Jackson. As you guys know, Jackson is on a little bit of a leave because of classes, but we don't change the intro because he is still here in spirit. But we are in the thick of Tales of Horror. So far, only one episode has been released, but I've been able to record a lot of them to have ready between now and the end of October, so I'm excited for that. And we're bringing back someone that you actually heard on a deep dive episode of ours of Suspiria, which is like it was a really fun chat, very energetic chat. We talked about a lot of things Suspiria related. That movie was a bit more out there and wacky and fun. The one we're going to talk about today, maybe a little bit more subdued than that one, but still some fun stuff to discuss. We have from the podcast That Wouldn't Die, we have Kevin and the Cult of Aaron. How you guys doing?
Yay! Doing great. How you doing, man?
Doing great. I felt bad because when we did Suspiria, I was like, yeah, like you guys need to come back on again. And then there was a long gap. But that didn't mean I didn't forget about you guys. Like we did Tales of Horror.
Sure. We're waiting by the phone with tears in our eyes.
We did Tales of Horror last year, and we're doing it again this year. And I was like, wait a minute, I should invite them for that because it's a whole spooky season thing, and they got spooky season vibes, and they're perfect for it. So for everyone that maybe didn't hear the Suspiria episode, let everyone know about your podcast. If there's anything new going on, what upcoming episodes you guys got coming, anything that you want to share, this is your time to share it.
Well, we are the podcast that wouldn't die. We discuss guilty pleasures and forgotten classics of the horror and sci-fi genres with a comedic twist. Depending on when this episode comes out, we've got Swamp Thing coming up. That's a banger. Let's see, we had Wrong Turn like a week or so ago. So we're just doing our thing, just pumping out the goodies.
Nice.
Boom. Speak No Evil. We just saw the new one.
Yeah.
Oh, I saw it too. Did you guys like it?
I did like it.
Yep. I was surprised because
not as
much. Definitely not as much, but I was a huge naysayer. I was like, oh, the original's not even that old. Why are they remaking it? Just watch the original. I went in with like super low expectations, but then when I went to Comic-Con for work, they had a screening there, and everyone at that screening was like, dude, it's good. And I was like, I don't know if I believe you guys. But then like it kept, the more screenings that came out, it was all the notes were good, and I finally saw it. I thought it did a good job there. It did diverge a bit from the
It did.
original, and that was fair. I'm glad they didn't just completely, copy everything. I think
They Americanized it.
They really
threw
did.
A Hollywood ending.
They really did because they knew. Because I know some friends that have seen the original, and that is where they're like, "I hate how that shit ended." I was like, "Well, I mean, everything's not for you guys. Sorry."
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Well, no, and the thing is the original. It's a foreign film, but it's all in English. It's all in English.
Yeah, it just has foreign sensibilities.
Right, it does,
especially in the way that it ended. Yeah, but I did enjoy it. I had to eat crow because I was so against it, and then I was like, oh, it wasn't that bad. It was, James McAvoy pretty much ate that whole movie.
Boom.
He was on top of his game as always. But
excellent.
Yeah, he was the best thing about it. Yeah,
that's why I went to see it because I figured. Well, it didn't have that higher rating when we saw it. Now the rating's gone way up. I think it was like a 75 when I went to go see it. But now it's like inching its way up. But he's always good.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And actually, it's crazy. It'll be on digital on October 1st. I feel like I just saw it in theaters. And
what?
I saw it last week.
Yeah, and it's just like, I don't know how I feel about the whole quick turnaround from theaters to home viewing. That kind of started with the whole COVID pandemic and everything, but
right.
Yeah, there'll be certain things I was like, I just saw that. Like, well, how am I able to watch that at home already? But
you used to have to wait like a year.
I know. Right? Yeah, they used to make you like kind of beg for it. Now it's just like, I think that's why so many people have, they go, I can wait. I don't have to go see it in theaters. I can go watch it at home soon enough.
Which kind of messes. I mean, I like the theater experience. You know what I mean? I like going there, getting my popcorn, sitting there with a bunch of strangers. I dig all that. I heard that AMC and Regal are going to have like pickleball courts.
Yeah.
People hanging out.
When I saw that, I was like, yo, I will like cancel your zip lines and pickleball courts for you to just clean your theater.
Right.
Thoroughly.
Yeah. Like, deal with people on their phones.
Yeah, pour that money into that. And I will why do I need a pickleball court and a zip line? And pretty soon there's gonna be like a bowling alley and one. I don't know. It's ridiculous. Like you have those things separately, so you go to those things separately. If I want to play pickleball, I would go play pickleball. Like I don't need.
I don't even like the theaters where they serve you. I mean, I'll bring my food in. I just don't want these motherfuckers walking back and forth because the room's not as dark and there's like a freaking flashlight everywhere.
Yeah, they haven't figured out how to. They haven't figured out how to not make that awkward. Like I used to like the idea of like, oh, like I can order this and then I can go sit down, but it's like dark by the time they come in there and they're just like, excuse me. Like, and then sometimes they get the ticket wrong. Like, is this you? I'm like, no, this isn't me.
Now there's a whole fucking conversation going on
in the middle of the movie. In the middle of the movie. It's not ideal. So for Tales of Horror, I sent you guys a list of movies. You guys narrowed it down to 2. Oddly enough, they were both celebrating 25 years, which is another cool thing for this episode. They actually both opened on the same weekend too, which was also kind of fun. So I was cool with either one. And why don't you let everyone know what you guys ultimately decided to go with?
Well, we were thinking either Stigmata or Stir of Echoes. Ironically, not knowing they opened in the same weekend. And we decided, you were very nice. You said we could even do both if we wanted.
Yeah.
I made a command decision. There's over 70 hours in the day. So we decided to go with the Kevin Bacon classic, Stir of Echoes.
Yes, it's a classic.
And good pick because we've never actually talked about it on the show. For MovieWeb, I actually had to write a piece for it on its 25th anniversary. And it's something that we can also talk about. I basically, like most people probably think, it got lost in the shuffle of The Sixth Sense. So that came out a few weeks before. And even though The Sixth Sense opened in August and this opened in September, The Sixth Sense was one of those rare word of mouth things that I think it was number 1 for 5 weeks in a row and it didn't go anywhere. And the premises are like kind of similar. And
I think close, right?
Yeah. And I think unfortunately some people didn't know that Stir of Echoes is actually based on a 1958 novel. So it actually predates The Sixth Sense. So, but I'm sure most people didn't know that. They were just like, oh, too similar. Like that kid can also hear ghosts. Like Like, no, we already did that. We did that this summer, and like for some people, they did that this summer, and then they did it multiple times. And they saw The Sixth Sense more than once.
Right. Sixth
Oddly
Sense
enough,
was freaking amazing.
yeah, and it's crazy because we covered that movie for its anniversary too back in August, and we briefly brought up Stir of Echoes, and my co-host was like, I kind of like that movie more, and I was like, but it was towards the end of that, but it was toward the end of the episode, and I was like, oh, we can't get into that now. But I will say I respect Stir of Echoes, and I think it deserved a little bit more love when it came out. I mean, it was a product of bad timing, but I think it has gone on to find an audience since then. It hasn't achieved cult status since then. Like, will we say that, or
I don't think so, honestly. And I think part of the reason is the title is kind of confusing. Is it about a bar at the Grand Canyon? I mean, I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I see what you did there. But yeah, it really is like so similar and almost in style too, a little bit. Like, I mean, it was, you know, and 1999 was an interesting year for horror movies. Like in that summer alone, like the Blair Witch Project opened wide, like a week before The Sixth Sense opened, and
dude, we were there on opening weekend too.
Yeah, so like I think everyone was like, "Oh, okay, we have our 2 little horror movies this summer. We don't need more." Stigmata did open well. It did beat this movie. It was the flashier of the 2, I guess, and then also Stigmata was so different in tone and its premise too. That I think
I can't even remember it, but I remember it being good. I remember it being. I remember liking it, but I cannot tell you anything about it.
Well, I'm not even sure it's a horror movie. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. It's like a kind of a religious kind of.
It's more like how they. I think what made Stigmata do well, at least opening weekend, is that they kind of pushed it as almost like an Exorcist style possession movie, and it not so much that she doesn't really get possessed.
Right.
There is one scene where they milked that one scene where she does appear to be possessed, but she's like writing on the wall in Hebrew and like whatever. And they milked that scene for all it's worth in the TV spots and trailers, and I think that's what they sold it as. But you're right, it's more of like a religion kind of movie, and it has horror undertones, but I think that's why it was able to do well opening weekend, like most horror movies, and then it fell like a brick after that. Poor Sir of Echoes like open low. I think when I looked it up, that it only really played in theaters. I think it was only in the top 10 for 3 weeks before it went away. Not really good. But
I read something that like when Hollywood hears something big's coming out, they rush to try to get something out that's similar at the same time. And I know this is based on an older book, but I have to imagine that that's what the situation was. It just so happens to be a good movie.
Yeah, that's true. And I think too, so Artist Entertainment released this, distributed it. Oddly enough, they also distributed the Blair Witch Project. And I'm wondering if they saw how The Sixth Sense was doing and if they thought like maybe we should move this, or is it too late to move it? Probably was too late to move it at that point, because that Sixth Sense opened in August. This was coming out September 10th. There probably was no time to adjust that release date at all. And they were just like, okay, I hope there's room for both of us. And unfortunately, it wasn't room for both of them.
I mean, if you've got to put them against each other and imagine the first time you saw the Sixth Sense, this doesn't hold up.
No, not at all.
But by itself, without all that hype from the Sixth Sense, it's a good movie. It's entertaining. It makes sense. It's a good movie.
I want to ask you, what made you guys ultimately want to pick this one to revisit it? Like,
Aaron sent me the list, and I went down the list, and I've seen this, the Sixth Sense. I've seen Stir of Echoes a lot. Not recently, but I've probably seen it 4 or 5 times. So I think, and we hadn't talked about it, so I threw that out there. And then when I saw Stigmata, I remember liking it, so I threw that out there. I completely forgot about that.
Because I hadn't seen, frankly, this or Stigmata in at least 20 years. So it was almost like watching it again for the first time. So
first time. Yeah, I had to watch it for the thing I wrote, so I think I did that a week or two ago. I
Okay.
did watch it a bit. I mean, now this time when I watched it, because I watched it recently, I had set it on in the background, but it was just like just to refresh a bit,
Right.
just to refresh a bit. I agree though. I think on its own it holds up pretty
Yeah.
well. Now, when you
It
start
is.
comparing it to the Sixth Sense, I think the Sixth Sense has it just the Sixth Sense, even though it is a relatively small movie, feels bigger in its scope
It
than
does.
Stir of Echoes does. And then of course it has the advantage of the whole like twist ending and all that too
Oh
working in
yeah.
its favor.
I mean, that was
Stir of
that
Echoes
was
doesn't really
only
have that, I guess.
no. Well, there's a
Like
surprise. Hey, there's
there
a
is a
dead
surprise,
babysitter
yeah.
in your basement.
Yeah.
Well, this one's more of like a murder mystery. You know that there's going to be some kind of reveal as to who the murderer is.
It has some true crime sensibilities. I think that probably would have
Right.
paid off more today since everyone loves that now. Like I think they would have
Right.
really responded to that. There's something about it that still feels a little bit more prestige than most horror movies, where it's like, it's like it's dealing with ghosts and supernatural stuff, but there's like this murder mystery and there's like this real life thing going on. I think most people who don't love horror movies would like this and like,
Yeah,
it wasn't really a
it's like a
scary movie.
mystery.
Yeah, it's more of a thriller that they try to like downplay how the
Right.
horror in it to
Right.
justify why they liked it. But yeah. For those that don't really know what it's about, would you guys want to give a quick little cliff notes a detail of like what the actual plot is for everybody
Don't
listening?
mind if I do. It is like a family in Chicago. The kid is talking to ghosts, but no one seems to notice. Hey, Jimmy's been having a 20-minute conversation over here, but nobody notices.
Yeah, this is very true.
And apropos of nothing.
The husband gets hypnotized at the party, and suddenly ghosts are talking to him. He gets hypnotized again, and now the ghost is reaching out. There's a message. He destroys his house. He finds the body. He saves the day. He didn't get killed. The end.
There you go. That is essentially what the movie is.
That is it. With some more stuff.
There's some more stuff. It's they kind of with the whole hypnotism thing, they kind of suggest that Kevin Bacon's character is not really open to these kind of things. It would appear like he's just like he's very much a skeptic, and like when she's talking about hypnotism, of course you're gonna have a character like that because he's like being all flippant and nonchalant about it, like hypnotize me, and then he has that line that they used in the trailer, like, "Oh, what's the worst that could happen?" And then, of course, and then
as soon as you say that,
the worst definitely happens. Now, before all this, right, the kid is already definitely weird and has been talking to himself, and like, there's something up with the child,
right,
that we know of already. He's already got the shitting the child.
I was gonna say, Dad's not shining so brightly, but the kid for sure has the shining.
Yeah, and he gets hypnotized.
He sees dead people.
Yeah. I will say the hypnotism scene, it really is even though it's like simple, pretty effective though, and like the stuff that she's like, the stuff that she's saying, that she's describing, and they gradually you see that on screen and all that. Like, I thought that was pretty cool. And
the writer director talked about how you typically don't see that kind of perspective in like a hypnosis scene, so he went out of his way to kind of show us, and I thought it was very effective.
Yeah, I thought so too. And of course, like as soon as he snaps out of it, everyone's like laughing at him, like, "Oh, you should show your face," and he immediately knows that something's wrong, and it's just like, "Oh, what did she do to me?" And I have to give credit to his wife in the movie because I feel like she suffers through a lot.
Saint.
Yes. Let you say it. She is a saint. She deals with a lot. I think sometimes I don't know if it's a writing thing or an acting choice, but sometimes her character feels very concerned about what's happening, and then other times she just feels like, what the fuck? Like, I just feels very like, I don't know what's going on. Like, there's a one thing where he's listening to like the music, trying to figure out like, where did he hear that song from, that like wonderful like Rolling Stones song
Right.
they keep using,
Yes.
Right.
using they use in all the trailers. And then she's telling him something about the pilot light being out. He clearly is ignored, but she's so like, hey, like the pilot light's out, and he's like not listening to her. And she's like, okay, I guess I'll do it myself. Granted, this keep in mind, this is
And
like
she's
after
pregnant.
a lot, and she's pregnant. And this scene is after a lot of weird stuff has already happened, and she's just like, all right, I guess I'll go down and do it alone.
No, I'm going to
myself.
kick the headphones off of his head and say,
Yeah.
I'm not crawling into that weird murder hole underneath our
Yeah.
kitchen. You need to go down there and check the pilot. Yikes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I don't want to say that she's a long-suffering wife, because they make a point where they get into it where he is like, it's when he's digging, he kind of like says something to her, like he's speaking to her like pretty off, and she's like, hey, in the like 8 years, however they don't like been together, she's like, you have never talked to me like that. So it seemed like despite what's going on now, they've had a really good marriage. And she's just like, this is the first time you've done this, and you need to get it together. So I wouldn't call her long suffering, but she certainly is, like you said, a fucking saint.
No, she's amazing. Like we say, it's like he's sound asleep. She rolls over to get a little action. I mean, that's dynamite. I mean, she's a keeper.
Yeah, she does, like, and she has to just like react to what he's doing too.
Yes.
It's just like she is, she's just like, what's going on? And I mean, I do like that, at least on his end, that he becomes so obsessed with this idea of like, I need to figure out what this is, and I, at least for the sake of the movie and the screenplay and stuff, I love that it's a question of like, we know he's seeing stuff, but for the rest of him, it's like, is he just going crazy, or is he actually seeing these things? And he becomes so obsessed with it that he completely loses interest in his family at all, until he realizes his son for sure is like, wait, you're hearing shit too. What's going on? Like, and then like the wife too is like, who forget she's talking to? She's like, I feel like they have their like own language. They're just like talking to each other, and I'm kind of like left out of it.
Why doesn't he just ask his son to ask his ghost friend where that body is?
Yeah, that would have solved a lot of problems.
That would have solved some problems. Absolutely.
Because
movie's
the ghost
over
kid,
in 15 minutes.
That's true, because the ghost kid clearly knows something, because when they need a babysitter to go to so they can go out, the kid's talking, I guess, to Samantha at that point, right?
Yes,
it's like,
right.
yes, to Samantha, and Samantha is like, yo, like my sister is a baby. No, she doesn't say that, but I'm assuming what the dialogue is hey, my sister's a babysitter, like, get her over here. And that's another example of like the parents not really listening to what the kid is having a full-on conversation.
You only
with
have
someone.
one kid. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not like there's 8 kids and they're running screaming through the house. You don't notice
Yeah.
the only other person in the room with you is having a long conversation to the wall.
Yeah, and then she's on the phone, and then she was like, and he casually brings up Debbie, and she's like, oh yeah, I'll like look into that. And then she calls her, and then that's how they get Debbie to babysit. And then the kid gets creepy and mentions Samantha to said babysitter.
Right.
And actually, that's probably one of the most effective scenes in the movie, because she full on like just takes him to go, like, I guess, see her mother. And like they think that she's gonna kidnap the kid. And of course, like Kevin Bacon's character is having all these like visions and stuff. The flashing red stuff, I don't think worked as well as they probably thought it did. Maybe it did in '99.
There's more when those moments would happen. You're like, what is happening? What does this mean?
Yeah, it was. I even think it was a cool visual choice too. It was like, all right, whatever. And then like, he runs off to go because he's like, oh, she's taking him, and again the wife, like, what the hell is going on? Like, she's just running behind him just because she is extremely supportive and deserves the world after all this stuff.
Oh my god,
she was ready to press charges on the babysitter.
Oh yeah,
I do. Like, oh no,
I do love. He's like, no, we don't need to do that. She's like, what? And like,
which seems suspicious. If I'm the police and they're like, oh, we don't want to press charges now that you mention it. Now the missing Samantha.
That was my only issue with that scene, is that that she's clearly distraught, and I know it looks bad because she like essentially kidnapped her son, and that's what it looks like.
And is it kidnapping? I mean,
she just kind of took.
If I took the kid 2 houses over to my mom's house to get an ice cream, did I just kidnap that child?
Oh yeah, or did she like? You took him to McDonald's. Like you left the house. Is that technically she? That's all she did. Was
The minute I left the house, it's kidnapped. I mean, she took him to see her mom.
Yeah. Which we didn't
all
know.
she did.
She just going to the
True.
train station, Grand Central
But
Station.
after they find out it is her mom, she still wanted to press charges.
Yeah, she was mad.
That is true. Yeah, true. I mean, I guess most of us would be pretty bad if
yes.
And like but the girl does. And thank you, Debbie, the babysitter, because she drops a lot of exposition that we need in that one.
Yes,
scene. That's like because we're like, hey, like, who's Samantha? Samantha is my daughter. She ran away, disappeared 6 months ago. Like all the things that we need is right there. Thankfully, it doesn't feel like expository. Like thank God, like it feels like it's necessary for that particular moment. But you really do get all the information.
Should have asked a few questions.
I think so too.
Why is this little child know about Samantha, and why is he saying that he sees her in the house?
Yeah, specifically in the house. Yeah, and like it's funny because the wife, when they show the picture of Samantha, or she shows her, and the wife looks convincing. She's like, I've never seen her before in their life. Kevin Bacon is like kind of staring up in the air, like, I've never seen her either.
Photograph her before you answer. Yeah, suspicious as hell. He should have been in handcuffs.
Yeah. Now I guess granted he can't say I've just been having visions of her. That wouldn't work. But like I do think
I've been dreaming of her.
Yeah, I was full on laughing. I was like, he's looking away. He's like even like looking at the picture fully. He's just like, nah, I never seen her before.
I've never seen her before in my life.
Yeah. And I think it's crazy that the cops don't question that more. Like, if you have a son that's like, I've seen that girl in my house.
Yes.
Like, and she's been missing. Like, I guess everyone's just assumed she ran away, right? And then they call, and then when he asked, like, his friends, other people more about her, because we should point out that like they moved in the house. They haven't been there that long, right? I guess like
less than 6 months. I guess
less than 6 months. That's 6 months. So like he's.
But this girl is like at risk. She's obviously developmentally delayed, and the police are like, she just ran off to New York. You know how kids are. I'm like,
right.
Do you guys, when you first saw this movie, did you think it was going to go like, at least from the trailers and stuff, that it was going to go the whole more like murder mystery route and not just like a full-fledged just like ghost story? Like, were you surprised that it took that direction a bit?
I'm trying to think what I thought it was going to be about at all, because I wasn't sure I even knew it was a ghost movie, because again, the title doesn't really tell you anything. You know what I mean? I just remember there were a lot of scenes of him like digging, so I didn't know.
To that,
he's digging for gold. He's digging for trouble.
Dig into that Rolling Stone bop. That's all I remember from the trailers. It's like
right.
And effective song to use in the movie and in the trailers. I'm wondering, in a world with no Sixth Sense, would this movie been a tad more successful?
Yeah,
like even just a tad. Not like Sixth Sense successful. I don't think it had like enough of a hook to like be as successful as Sixth Sense, but
if it had come out before Sixth Sense.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's built to be like a hit. You know what I mean? I think it's like,
you mean a blockbuster,
like a blockbuster, right? I think people who are inclined to go see ghost movies would have flocked to see it. I think by word of mouth.
Yeah.
But I don't think it would have been like, oh shit, number one with a bullet for the last month and a half is Stir of Echoes.
That's very true.
I mean, Bruce Willis, again, I think his best roles are his understated roles. So Pulp
Hudson
Fiction,
Hawk.
Get out of here. Pulp Fiction and The Sixth Sense. His understated roles are where he really shines.
Yeah, I think so too. And I love in The Sixth Sense with Bruce Willis that he clearly knew that Haley Joel Osment was the special one in that movie, and he just lets him kind of cook.
Yes.
And he's the and actually you don't really get to see Bruce Willis subdued that much, and I think that's why that performance is probably one of his better ones.
Yes.
I enjoy that a lot. Kevin Bacon here though is actually quite good in this.
Bacon's good.
He can go. I mean, the unhinged thing could have been like over the top and not worked, because he definitely goes like to some places here, and I actually thought he did not like go too far over the edge. Like I thought he was like just right, like chew just enough scenery to not enough to be bad. Like he was
right.
Yeah.
His performance seems like it's grounded in reality to a certain degree. You know what I
Right.
mean? It's
Yeah.
not totally. It's not Christopher Walken or somebody.
Right.
Ooh, that I want to see that. Now that you said that,
This is not
that'll be
Nicolas
the real
Cage's Stir of
tragedy.
Echoes.
I know.
It's Grandpa comes to visit Stir of Echoes.
Right.
There's somebody else in the other basement.
There is some like stuff that he does that's like unintentionally funny when like I think they find out her mother dies. All right, and
Oh yeah,
and they have to go to the wake, and he's like, "Well, do you like want me to go?" And she's like, "What the fuck do you mean? Do I want like again another like
another
like, and then he says like, "Well, I'm kind of like in the middle of something right now." And like it's like it's so like unintentionally. I mean, I guess it's supposed to be like darkly funny that he's like, oh, "I'm busy. I got digging to do."
No, that was hilarious. Well, even when she gets the facts and it's like, oh, grandma's been rushed to the hospital. He's like, oh, no, she's not. I mean.
Oh, yeah.
He already knows.
He already knows. Yeah. I just thought that was funny that she was just like, again, like she's probably like adding it to the list of frustrating things because the time is not, there's not a lot of time in the movie. This is just a matter of like days, right?
Days.
Yeah. Like I mean, for the wife, it probably felt like years, but I guess it's only. And I always forget that she is pregnant in the movie. On top of like
bummer,
all this
bummer,
other stuff that she's dealing with, like having to deal with him, and then also that not only the son was already weird, but now her husband's weird, and now they're weird together.
Yes,
and then she kind of thinks like she's just like left out of their
it is
like
father and son bonding.
Yeah, their secret society of like just talking to themselves, and she's like, "Oh, what the hell? Like, what's going on?" Yeah, I thought that was interesting. I think she might be probably the best overall character in the movie because I felt bad for her, and she's like trying, she's doing her best, even though there's something. I think she just gets too checked out at certain points where she's like, I can't deal with this anymore. Like, turn on the pilot light for me, please. Stop. Why are you digging in the backyard? Why are you digging in the backyard? And I love that he has his son digging his second pile and just like, don't worry, it's not over there. Like what we're looking for.
This is kind of has a black comedy. There's a comedy spot. It's not over there. Well, then where the hell is it? If you know where it's not, why are you still digging in that yard?
And I mean, honestly, it's always kind of the thankless part to be the wife who's kind of bitching and complaining.
And also like the skeptic, like she's a skeptic,
right?
Like, oh, I don't know what's going on. Yeah. She probably is the character that hypnotizes her. That's her sister, right? Like,
her sister, correct?
So like, oh, that's who you need to blame. That's who you need to like. That yeah.
What
I do like her too.
She took like a correspondence course on hypnosis.
Is there an ad in the back of Boys Life magazine? What was that?
Yeah,
Boys Life.
And then she did it. And then she did it to him twice because he was just like, "Hey, I need you. Whatever you did, like reverse it." And then she did it again and just made it worse. And she was like, "Yeah." And I love that every time he comes out of it, like, "Were you okay? You should have seen your face." like like all this stuff
and
that
more
he
orange
missed,
juice.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
What was that about?
She also doesn't really react to that much. Well, like when she brings the groceries home and opens the fridge, it's just like full of orange juice. She's like, okay, like she's just
especially
like,
since he doesn't have a job anymore, and now they spend all their last savings on orange juice
on Minute Maid with no pulp.
With no pulp.
on top of that,
baby, will you strain the pulp out of my orange juice for me?
Oh man, like. I forgot about the whole he does lose his job right over all of this because he's not going to work.
They established he stopped going to work.
He just stopped going to work, because he was so obsessed with figuring out what happened to this like ghost girl in his visions, and he doesn't even like see her a lot at first. It's just like, there's the door, and then like a hand falling to the ground, and like a broken feet, which always makes me go, I hate the whole like nail thing and so. And then like a busted tooth, and like he gets all these like little pieces before he even sees a young Jennifer Morrison, by the way, being the ghost girl who ended up on House and Once Upon a Time. This is like one of her first movies. She after this she did Urban Legends Final Cut though a year later.
I remember
a year later. She had to put in some work before she got to like the big And honestly, what a kind of thankless role to have in this, but she does look creepy. I mean, it's not like it's like extensive like ghost
Right.
makeup, but it's enough to make her.
Right.
Because I always remember, even from seeing it back in the day, just that one shot of her when the wife is doing the stuff with the pilot, and then she like grabs the light bulb and like the lights go out. Like that's one image I remember, like still image I remember from the movie. And it's she's effectively like creepy enough. And you can tell.
I liked it when she was sitting in the bathtub. The wife's about to get
and she's just playing with the water and just stirring it. Yeah.
That was a good moment.
I also love in any movies where I don't understand why this is the case, but usually when ghosts in movies are asking for help and they're not really trying to scare you, they still scare you.
They're still dead.
They're still dead, and they aren't really that direct. Like, yo, I need help. It's always just like creepy things that are like that. Like fucking Haley Joel Osment went through the same thing when he couldn't like. He's like, oh, I have to like listen to you. I was like, well, that's kind of their fault that they're not really overtly telling you what's wrong with
That's
them.
right, and they're disgusting. They're all
on top of that.
vomity. We got chunks of meat hanging out, and they want to talk to you in the middle of the night. I'm like, get the fuck out of here.
Like,
So,
yo, Samantha's got wet hair and a bunch of
other.
It's like the Frighteners.
Pasty.
What did she want? Did she want him to find her body or to get revenge on the people who killed her?
Or all the above, I guess.
Maybe a little bit of buff. I mean, maybe she was like, yo, if they find my body, and then he'll start asking questions, and then those people will be like, yo, they found the body. Yeah. I guess she was like, we'll just take one step at a time.
Right. I'll take it.
She didn't seem to be free until everybody was dead.
Yeah. That's true. And like do you remember when you first saw it? Did you kind of suspect who might have done anything? I don't think there was like any overt clues who might have like did stuff to her. Like, I guess that's good that it doesn't play like a whole like red herring thing too much until like the
You're right.
climax. I guess like you don't really get like a hint. I guess his friend does kind of react weird to him asking questions about her, but not enough for me to at the time when I first saw it to be like, oh, that guy must have did something. Like,
you figure it's one of these characters that we've been introduced to.
That's true. I was like, there's too many other side characters.
The drifter,
yeah,
it wouldn't have made as much sense to have to meet all these jackasses.
There's too many people with like enough secondary screen time that like one of them has to be involved.
It was a random electrician who'd been working on the property and then jumped the train afterwards. Yeah, it wasn't going to be that.
Willie came, murdered her.
Yeah, deranged
her in the
Mason.
basement. And head on out. I have to say, this is like, except for the train in the background, this seems to be the greatest neighborhood. What a sense of community! Everybody's
they have
out.
fun. Everyone's hanging out, drinking beer and
block parties.
Block parties. I don't have
drunk as shit. Going to high school football. Good times.
Like they want for nothing until like
everything is walking distance.
Yeah, and honestly, if Kevin Bacon didn't get hypnotized, they could have just carried on with their block parties and beer. And
that's right.
Poor Samantha. Just keep that mystery forever, I guess. Poor Samantha.
Yeah.
That's why they killed you, Samantha, because you're a spoiler.
I do ruin our good times. I know. I will say the once that is all revealed, and they show what happened to her. Pretty effective too. It's pretty downright chilling a bit, like what ends up happening to her, especially when you know that she was like, and I love how it all comes to every little thing that he saw in his visions, and like it all comes together finally once you see all that play out. We were watching, you're like, oh yeah, that everything makes sense now. Like the song, the broken fingernail, the tooth, and they make sure to like kind of exaggerate the shots of like in that final moment of like, in case you didn't realize, like there's a broken tooth and there's a broken nail.
Well,
it was all first person, like you were the victim of this crime.
Yeah, and I think that is what makes it effective too. Is like you are seeing it through her eyes, pretty much.
Yeah,
and like I think that makes it a bit, I think it's a bit more different than a lot of these like kind of haunted house ghost movies.
I mean, what jackasses? How are they pulling this off? I mean, it is beyond the beyond.
And
no one's gonna notice that I've raped the neighborhood girl. No one's gonna say anything.
Special needs girl from down the road. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what's crazy is that they felt that the special needs girl from down the road just ran away. Like she would have the wherewithal to like run away and like
join
skip
the
town
circus.
and like
the police are like, oh well, she just ran away.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And that one guy keeps calling her the R word when he's trying to explain. He's like, "Oh yeah, oh that's not good." Like, that one guy's like, "Hey, we don't use that word." Like he uses it like 3 times to describe her.
We get
it. Like Jesus,
he's the only one that mentions that there might be something wrong with her. Nobody else.
Nobody else
says
does.
it.
Well, the other thing is that this is Chicago. People get killed there all the time. Cops do investigate, right?
Yeah.
Maybe that's just PR. Maybe that's not true at all.
Oh, maybe so. There you go.
Yeah, but the idea that that Adam and Kurt like lured her into the house to rape her, and like it was just this whole like, there's a lot of darkly funny things in this movie, but once it like reveals itself of what happened, I was like, shit's getting real, and that's why I kind of think like that is more of like a true crime angle, right? Like having something like that happen, and then hiding it, and then I think that would have played a lot better today because people are obsessed with stories like this now, even more so than they were in 1999.
This is it was premeditated. They were sitting there getting themselves drunk and egging each other on. This was all a plan.
Yeah, all a plan. Yeah.
They weren't planning to kill her.
No,
but that's what.
What was the freaking plan?
I guess she resisted, and then they got like, they got nervous, and then I like how like
she was screaming. She was screaming during.
He was screaming,
rape.
and I like. And one of I have like so many descriptions of the movie pulled up. And there's a few of them where it doesn't say like they suffocated her. They says they unintentionally suffocated her. I was like, I mean, I guess, but if they shouldn't have lured her there in the first place, and they wouldn't be able to either intentionally or unintentionally suffocate her.
It's a plastic tarp. You held it over her face. Come on.
I didn't mean for him to die, but I just wanted him to stop crying, so I used the hammer to quiet him.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah, it's brutal, and but it kind of like you in like little like having in a town like that, in a place like that where you can easily hide something like that. And I also think it has a lot to say about how we don't pay attention to people who have special needs like that, or just like they're easily kind of like discarded and forgotten, and that's what that movie has to say too, I think. Which is why, I was watching when I was watching for this, I was like, I can't believe that they just think this girl just like upped and bolted. Like she packed her bags and like hopped on a train and like just like went to go live a new life. Like the fact that some of them don't say that she was missing, some of them just say like, she ran away. That is what like blew my mind. Like they ran with that narrative in the movie.
Well, it helps, spoiler alert, when one of the people who are guilty of it is a police officer.
He's
spinning the story.
Yeah, that does help a lot.
And then they show up to like murder Kevin Bacon. I mean, now they're straight up murderers. It's like premeditated. We're coming to kill you. I've brought my gun to kill you.
Because they're like, why couldn't have you left this alone? Like, and Kevin Bacon's like, I didn't even want to know. I got hypnotized. It wasn't even my fault.
That's why it's not my fault.
It was
my sister-in-law.
Blame my sister-in-law, but he did egg her on because he was like, "Oh, you hypnotized me." But he probably was like, "I didn't want this." Cold like power.
It's her ultimate revenge because he was so fucking cocky. Anyway, he needed to be brought down.
I think he had to be brought down. I mean, I thought it was interesting too that he has this bit of dialogue where he says like he's never cared, or something like he's never cared about something more in his life, or something more important in his life, and
including his wife and
including
children.
his wife. So he says that to her, and then like she kind of is like, you think like in any other movie she kind of would have been like, oh, like he finally cares about something, and she turns away for a second. It was like, when you say that like basically like you don't really care about this like ordinary life anymore. You're also saying that you don't care about me or us in this ordinary life. And I'm glad they had her say that.
Line Moonstruck. That line is dead. That's when her husband was cheating, and he was like this whole thing, and that's what Olympia Dukakis was like. When you say that,
Yeah.
This is our life.
Right.
Your life is not built on nothing. Oh my God. Interesting.
Is there an implication at the? I can't believe I just watched it. I don't really remember. Was there any implication in the start of the movie that he was someone that needed to care about something more than like what?
There was a moment at the beginning of the movie where he was like, he clearly had big ideas of being like a rock star or some shit. And so he was upset that his life was so ordinary. So there was an exchange, and she was like,
better than that.
Yeah.
My garage band. Exactly.
And she was cool. She was like, I'm fine with our life. It's not perfect, but like, up until this whole like you digging holes in the backyard. Yeah.
And then we Googled, he's a lineman. They make they make about $80,000.
So what's the problem?
They got a nice place. Well, it was until he destroyed it.
Until he destroyed it. Yeah, not only did he dig a massive hole in their yard, he also digs a massive hole within the house. But they move anyway, so it's fine.
It's fine.
Yeah, I guess he doesn't worry about getting his deposit back.
They killed the landlord, so I guess it's all good.
What do you think about having? I mean, I guess it's a product of the story, but we see a lot of kids in these movies that like they can hear things, they know things. It effectively used here, or has it just been done even back then done so much that it was like, oh, this is kind of like
this kid was not irritating,
right?
That's a good point. Yeah,
he was cute, and the way he performed, I thought he was spot on. I thought he was perfect. I used to
creepy too.
Kids in movies, but
he was. Don't be afraid,
like
Daddy. Don't be afraid, Daddy. It's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. Like
that was a good moment.
Yeah. He's like, I hear things too. I just loved the kid having like what appeared to be little arguments with whoever ghost people he's talking to. Like when he's like he was watching something on TV and then kept changing the channel.
Yes,
and he was like, no. He like tries to change it back, and like he gave really good frustrated face in those scenes. Like he just like, I don't like turn it back.
He had the good sense to like leave the room when it was just the all Night of the Living Dead channel all the time. No more
exactly.
Lidsville.
Yeah. And I did love the whole like what's the one moment with I think it's the wife and him are in the room talking to the kid and the kid's not responding, and then I think he turns around. I think he gets possessed for a second when he's like, he's like don't talk to him. He's like, talk to me. And then he's like, and then Kevin Bacon's like, wait, say that again in that voice. And then she's like, yo, leave our kid alone. And he's like, no, you can do it. Say it again.
Don't talk to the demon that lives inside the baby.
Tony.
Another moment when the wife's like, why are you talking to our son like that? He's like, I know you can do it. Just do it again. And she's like, no, stop it.
We'll wait till mommy goes to sleep.
I know. The true MVP of the movie.
I don't want to talk in front of mommy. It upsets mommy when we talk about it. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I agree with you. As far as like creepy kids go in movies, not that annoying. Like adorable enough. Got to be like creepy-ish enough, but not too like. Yeah, because usually you can tell when kids are like acting, and I kind of got there. He felt very natural, I thought.
Well, he didn't have to carry a lot of weight either. This wasn't Hallie Joel Osment,
Yeah, that's true. That's true. He wasn't going for an Oscar. He wasn't going for an Oscar. You're right.
No, they could just throw
and Hallie Joel Osment was insane. He was so good.
Yeah,
was.
Yeah. This kid doesn't have like a big breakdown where he has to like tell his mom about something that her mother said.
Right.
Yeah.
They didn't say, hey, you tell us the exposition. No, they did not.
No,
they said we're gonna have the babysitter reveal the truth about something.
Just like that once, and the kid's just like, I just hear strange shit, and I'm trying to make you know like it's okay to hear. So like, was it in the movie? Was it like, did Kevin Bacon kind of have that, and then like the hypnosis thing bring it out? Like, or did
he didn't seem to have it
no
until the hypnosis.
Oh, Sid.
I mean, he didn't show it until after the hypnosis. How about that?
That's true.
Well, because she specifically said the hypnosis was like, now your mind will be open. And she meant like, stop being so narrow-minded. But now it's literally your brain is open to all the weird shit in the world, I guess. Premonitions.
Yeah.
Ghosts.
That you have to be open to the power of like suggestion, or it won't work.
But he must have had something, because the police officer said that
that's true.
It's it from the dad's side.
Oh, maybe so. Maybe so.
But I guess you have to be open, otherwise it doesn't work. He
what
was not open.
was the list of things he went down with the wife when the wife went to go see him? Like, I need to know. Tell me what's wrong with my husband. And he was like, "Oh, did he kill someone?" She's like, "No." Did he do this? he hit all the head. He hit these like really extreme things first, and she was like, "No," and then she finally was like, "Yo, he got hypnotized." He's like, "Ah." Like, there it is.
I thought he was psychic. How come he don't know?
Oh, exactly.
Maybe he did kill someone. She just doesn't know. These are the things he did. He's just waiting to see what she knows.
Well, are they psychics or are they like mediums? You know what I mean? Can they read people's minds or can they just talk to the dead?
I guess they're just mediums, so she can just talk to the dead. And
but
with the dead.
The boy predicted he didn't go back to the house because he was afraid of the feathers. So he saw into the future.
Right.
Yeah. At the very end, he had a premonition of a future event. And Kevin Bacon had a premonition of a future event too.
Right. They were going to kill you guys. That moment on the stoop.
Right. So they were getting stuff that hadn't happened yet. So how are they getting that? It wasn't all just talking with dead grandma.
Yeah. Also true, yeah.
He's an X-Men.
They're all. This is all part of the Marvel universe.
Of all of Kevin Bacon's horror movie outings, I guess like the two main ones that people would talk about would be this one or Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th. He looked like a baby.
What is between the two? Which is your favorite Kevin Bacon horror excursion?
I mean,
go for it.
One of those is like an 80s camp classic. And this one's more of like a legitimate movie. I mean, I think he's doing a better job of acting, but I don't think you can compare the two.
That's true.
Because it's one of them. Yeah, one of them is just pure camp craziness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You call it. I mean, it takes place at a camp, if that's what you're talking about.
It's not as Camp K.
Right. No, but look, granted, it's a slasher film that I've probably seen 1,000 times, right? So, I mean, I understand what you're saying. They're very different, but I gotta lean towards old Camp Crystal Lake.
I knew you would.
Friday the 13th, the original classic. For goodness' sake.
Oh my God, if you see it now, it seems so tame. It's like we'll play it at Thanksgiving, bring the kids over, you know. It's all good. It is so tame.
You said you named it Thanksgiving. You play it at Thanksgiving. Like, it is. I mean, it's so funny because I rewatch every Friday 13th. I try to watch as many of them as I can, and of course start with that one. And it's always funny, like when I watch that movie, I just wonder if the rest of his castmates were like, that guy is going places and we are not.
We are not. What did the dude just like Bing Crosby's son? He's like, he thought he was going places.
Oh yeah, that is true. Yeah, that is true.
Again.
He gets like arrowed in the eye and just hanging on the door. Like that's
it for him.
I think Alice is kind of into Bing Crosby's son in the movie. Like there's that. There's also like I know this is a different movie, but it's also that weird stuff with like I can't tell if Alice like hooked up with the dude that's like running, like trying to reopen the camp.
Absolutely.
He has that weird thing where he like touches where he's like touching her face and she's like
with the mustache and the cutoffs.
Yeah. And she's like I drew you last night. He's like, this is what I look like, and she's what you did last night. Like it's so
oh yeah. He's trying to rekindle some shit. Even though he's 45 years old and she's 18.
Also that. Kevin Bacon, like I said, in 2022, they asked him what he feels is his most underrated movie, and he said, I have so many underrated films that it's really hard to choose. He said, I don't know. He said, you know what, I'll tell you, since we're talking about a horror movie that I'm promoting, you know what movie I think is pretty underrated as a movie is Stir of Echoes, but it came out right on the heels of The Sixth Sense, and because it had a little kid in it who was kind of imagining things, it sort of got pushed to the side because everybody was like, well, it's just like The Sixth Sense, and The Sixth Sense was great, not to take anything away from it. I thought it was amazing, but I would have to say it's that one, and I think that's I think it is underrated. I would feel so like if I was him, like I think I got a nice little like chiller here for like the horror movie crowd, and then to see that movie open and just take everyone's attention away for not even just the month of August. Like it carried on into like I think it was like it was finished ahead of Stir of Echoes that weekend. It opened too. Like it was just like not Stir of Echoes didn't have a chance. I think competing with another big
Nothing had a
mainstream
chance.
ghost story.
That was so huge with the big twist at the end,
Right.
which I did not see. I'm just going to share that with you.
I didn't either.
I did not see that coming. I was like, "What? What's happening? What?"
Yeah. So we put a poll up, and I was like, "Hey," even we said on the episode when we did the Sixth Sense, I was like, "I would hope people don't lie because everyone's gonna be like, well, I saw it coming." And I was like, "I need you guys not to lie."
I saw it coming within 5 minutes.
Yeah, because I certainly did it when I first saw it. I'm so happy. Jackson, the co-host on here, he was like, unfortunately, he saw that movie after a lot of people had seen it. And it was spoiled. It was spoiled for him. He still likes it, but I was like, oh, to like see that movie like in the theater, not spoiled, and then just like, and the great thing about that ending is like it's all the way at the end, and then it tells you like that's what's going on, and that's it. There's no more movie after that. It's just like that's what's going down.
What's good about it is when they do the little flashbacks to show you all the clues they give you. They don't cheat. They don't cheat.
Yeah.
All those scenes are really there. Like if you're paying attention, it's clear he's a ghost the entire time. That is
true. Oh man, poor Sir Echoes is like, we have clues. We have the broken fingernail and the tooth, and the plastic and like all and the song. You guys like the song, right?
Well, I mean, it's one thing to say like, look, it was just bad luck. We went up against a juggernaut. But the idea of how close, like the basic elements of the two films are so similar. I mean, that's pretty rough. That's
and they
pretty
come out within weeks of each other. Like,
yes,
like that is crazy. Like within weeks of each other, and like there was just like it was just bad timing. I do think I find it interesting that you I guess it is true that it really hasn't achieved like cult status yet. I mean, I feel like people who see it like it.
Right,
but
everybody seems to like it. Yeah, that can't be a cult classic.
It's finally getting the 4K release in December. I had to watch my shoddy like DVD of it. It's like that DVD is not carry over well, even like upscaled on my 4K. Like it had some questionable sound and some questionable like grainy
some
video.
popping, some scratching.
It was not ideal, but I'm glad it is getting a 4K release in December. I mean, I think they did make a sequel to it. Rob Lowe's in it. It was direct to video, I believe. I didn't see it.
It already sounds terrible.
It was made in 2007. It's called Stir of Echoes: The Homecoming. It was actually a television movie from Lionsgate.
That means it's quality.
It says it received universally negative reviews from critics.
Because Rob Lowe was in it.
That was a rough period for Rob Lowe. This was after West Wing, but before Parks and Recreation.
Womp.
Womp, yeah. Whoa, what's wrong with Rob Lowe? I mean, I don't really care. I don't really have like a.
I like him.
I have no dog in the Rob Lowe fight. I'm just curious.
I just never liked him, and then when I read Melissa Gilbert's autobiography, I really didn't like him.
Well, there we go. Yeah, I don't. And then he had like a second coming of his career. I guess like he had the West Wing and then the break, and then he was on like every show that either had like
I
one
love
or two
Parks
seasons
and Rec, but I didn't like him on it.
Well, what's interesting about West Wing is that he was supposed to be the star of West Wing. It was supposed to be the Rob Lowe show, and then Martin Sheen was only supposed to be like in the pilot episode. But he was so popular that they turned him into a total ensemble, and he left. He irritatedly left after a few seasons,
full of rage because he's like Kevin Bacon here.
I like how we waited out for a few seasons. Things. Hey, right. I mean, Kevin Bacon is always like reliable person in almost any movie. Like usually not always the star. Usually like a supporting player.
Animal House.
Like he puts in good supporting work in Mystic River. Like he is a really reliable.
A Few Good Men.
Right. Yeah, he's a reliable presence in most of his movies.
Yeah.
I mean, the year before this, he was in Wild Things. That's fun.
That's true.
That's a fun movie. He
You see a lot
that.
of that,
You
by
see
the
a lot.
way.
You see a lot of Kevin Bacon in that movie. He had a really interesting run in the late 90s. I'm glad that he finds this movie underrated. I think it is. I think it holds up pretty well. I mean, I think, like I said, I think it's too small to really even for a lot of horror movie fans to really like grab their attention completely. But it's a nice little mystery thriller. I mean,
Yes,
like
it's
like
entertaining.
like something like a little Agatha Christie where they're thrown together, like last
Oh,
minute.
come on. This is not Ralph's Theater. You gotta give it a little bit more than that.
That's true.
You know what? The more I think about this movie, it does the job, but it doesn't kind of blaze any new ground. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's easy to kind of get lost in the shuffle. I mean, Aaron and I do a lot of movies. We talk to a lot of people about horror and stuff like that, and I don't think Stir of Echoes ever comes up.
No one mentions that that's their favorite. It's a good film.
It's good,
but it's no one's favorite.
Right.
Well, I'm glad that you kind of had that reaction because when I said we brought up Stir of Echoes briefly during the end of our 6th episode, and he was like, "I think I like Stir of Echoes more than this," and you guys were like, "Nope," like right away.
And we like Stir of Echoes. I'm like, that's not possible.
And then my reaction was like, "We don't have enough time to get into it." This is the end of the end of the episode. But I've always felt bad that it like kind of got drowned out. Like at least it deserved its time to shine a bit.
I agree.
And I guess since this is we're talking about horror movies and stuff, is there anything, any scene, any moment in this movie that you find, I guess not, you don't have to say scary, but if you think is effectively creepy or like anything that made you jump or anything like that in this movie at all, or is it just all a little bit too tame at all? Like I was trying to think of what the scenes in particular. There are some like jump moments because of stingers and stuff like that, but like I was trying to think of things that are
one where he sees her and he's reaching out to her, and now he's not breathing.
Oh yeah, is that the one where the wife? Is that the one with the wife? Is that the one where the wife grabs his face? Oh yeah, that is
right. And brings him back with breathe.
Breathe.
Well, she's a nurse, so she knows how to.
That's all you have to do.
Psychic trauma, I guess.
Like resuscitate. Like what the hell's going on? Oh yeah,
breathe.
Like, that's another moment for her. She's coming back from like dealing with the fucking pilot light, and he's just like standing there with his arms stretched out to nothing, and she's like,
she's like, not this shit again.
She deserves her own crossover movie, dude. Her own spinoff.
I mean, there were definitely moments I appreciated. Like I said, I like the moment where Kevin Bacon's coming up the stairs and the son is at the top of the stairs saying, "Don't be afraid, Daddy." That was a good moment. But I honestly, and I wonder if I'm just fried that nothing frightens me anymore. But I don't remember being scared at this movie, like even a little bit.
I was never scared,
right?
But there's some good creepy parts.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This wasn't going to make me go home and have bad dreams, but it's moody and it gets you caught into the story and you want to know what's going to happen next.
I think it's pretty atmospheric for the most part. It's only a $12 million movie. And we do say that it didn't do well. It only made $23 million. We only had $12 million budget, so it made its money back. It just
made its money.
It just didn't tear. I mean, and then Arts and Entertainment was like, "Yeah, we made all our money from Blair Witch Project, so we're good." And then, then Arts and Entertainment,
my fucking money for that Blair Witch. It made me car sick, and by God, by the end, I'm like, "What the fuck?" So nothing happens? Is that what it is?
Yeah. And then to find out that they even
what the fuck? I was
and
so
then to find out they even share that money with like the stars. They even share that movie with any of those people. They're like, "Oh no."
I read about that.
It's not funny, but like it's just funny because it's just so evil of a studio to do this. They didn't let them take any other jobs. They're like, we can't take jobs because you guys are dead. You guys disappeared in Burgersville. Like we gotta sell this. We have to sell this. We have to sell this. So they could get jobs. And then when the movie made, I think over $100 million, and it was still making money, they sent them all a fruit basket, and that is what they they gave them for their time.
Well, I think they had an agreement with the filmmakers to get some kind of kickback at the end, and they got shafted. They got
nothing. And I don't think they thought that movie would make what it made, and did what it did. But but I just want to be a fly on the wall, like studio execs was on the phone with them, like, yo, what, you can't take a job, like you guys are missing, presumed dead. Like they were, I mean, I guess to their credit, to sell the movie like that was pretty groundbreaking at the time. Like
the marketing campaign was insane.
Yeah,
it was like, this is the true story.
Yeah, young me thought it was real. I watched that special that they aired on the Sci-Fi Channel that made it look real, and I was like convinced. Like I was like, when are they ever gonna find them? And then my mom was the one that like, she was like, they wouldn't release this as a theatrical film if they were real missing. If they were real missing, like, yeah, good
point. All over their website.
Then, I was too. I was like, maybe they're releasing because they're trying to find them. I was so dumb.
Yeah, that's right. It's found footage, just like Cannibal Holocaust.
Yeah, and then they milked that subgenre for all it's worth after that. Everything like was found footage, and kind of
Paranormal Activity. Now that was a good one.
Yeah, that turned 15. That turned 15 today in limited release. I guess it came out 15 years ago, and I was like, that makes me feel it doesn't seem that long ago, especially because there's been so many of them since that first one.
Right.
But that was a lot of fun. I enjoyed those movies, and
go ahead.
No,
I was gonna say one of my favorite. Back to the movie. One of my favorite scenes is wife is at the funeral and is calling the house, and you just see the back of him. He's like, no, you know, I got it worked out. Everything's okay.
I'm done digging.
I'm done digging. Blah 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 blah. And she's like, no, I'm coming, and just hangs up. She's on her way, and it just pulls back, and now the living room's ripped up. He's still in the clothes, and he's done so much, and he just hops back into the hole.
If it was a comedy, if it would have pulled back to show all that stuff after she's like, I'm coming, you just was like, fuck.
Bummer.
As if he could have like completed fixing everything by the time she got back from,
the time she hung up, she said it'd be an hour. So within an hour, he finds the body, takes down the wall, tells the neighbor, who then tells the other neighbor, and she shows up just in time to save the day.
Yeah,
well, she almost gets killed.
She does almost get killed. She does almost get killed. And considering all the shit she goes through, if that would have been the case for her, I'd be like, what the hell? I mean, like
that'd have been like Speak No Evil.
Because right? Because she I feel like the wife is like, even though like she is trying to be like, what's going on, she is like just on the peripheral of the story. Like she still doesn't quite know what's going on, even though she does get information from like the cop or whatever, and like, and like gets all that information from him. Like she still feels like she doesn't quite get it or understand it.
We were talking about this. Why didn't she send her husband to go meet with that dude? Why do you think?
Well, she has that dialogue, I guess, to him that like, oh, he wouldn't do it. Like he was like, oh, he wouldn't do it. Like he'd be too like,
do you believe that?
I think no, because at that point he's so far gone. Like he was willing to go back to the sister-in-law and like, yo, reverse this.
Yeah,
I know you did something. I know you did something. Like, please reverse it. So that's the situation. Is the plot just plotting, and they needed her to do something. I think like, oh, you go do it. Like, you have to be the
Give
one
her
to
a scene, right?
Yeah. And you know what? It took me forever to recognize her for something else, and I can't really. I was like, where else have I seen her in? And it was Law and Order: Criminal Intent, but I didn't really like watch that show a lot. So I was like, but it is her.
She is so tiny because she's with Vincent D'Onofrio, and she looks like a leprechaun dancing around next to him.
Yep. And I was like, what? Yeah, I was like, what other stuff she been in? And like, but still, she is like frozen in my mind from this movie. I think that's what I remember her from. Like, she actually looks the part. She looks like a wife looks like a wife that would be living in that area. Like, she looks like she'd be like a nurse. Like, they all like they actually all convey like what that
real people
like, and and like even at that point, for you to forget that Kevin Bacon is Kevin Bacon, for him to disappear in a role like that, they really do feel like just regular like middle class like family, and like and I think that is probably why a lot of the movie does work, because you really feel like, oh, this is like a real family going through real turmoil. I do wish that they had her like I mean, I guess she just doesn't know how to react to what's going on with him.
Yeah,
yeah, she's just like I like it. I think it's interesting that she doesn't really
keep it cool. Keep it cool.
She does talk to her sister about it, but like I feel like she doesn't talk to her enough because it's like, hey, this didn't start until you did all your like voodoo stuff.
Yeah, why wouldn't you be on the horn going, hey, what the hell's going on here?
Yeah,
right.
She has like that one conversation with her about like basically like it seems like her and the son have like or him and the son have their own language together, and then that's the extent of her trying to explain that to her sister. I would think that she would just be like, yo, like we have more like he's still not right. He's getting worse. Now there's a giant hole in our fucking yard. Like,
yeah,
please,
and
like,
it's all your fault, sister. Get over here. Start fixing this shit up.
Like, please help. I always forget that actress name, but she's great too. That played her sister. Like she's
Ileana
always
Douglas.
Yeah, she's also. I actually feel like she's someone that like improv a lot of stuff. With, like some of her dialogue in the movie didn't feel scripted. Just feel like it was just her like riffing a little bit.
She was really good.
While
really
we
good.
were talking, I all of a sudden remember in Goodfellas, she is what's
God.
his name's date at the bar.
Oh, you're right.
Oh,
I don't know why am I blanking on it right now. That's gonna bother me.
Kevin, what's his name? Small.
Oh, Joe Pesci.
Joe Pesci's date, and he says something about don't talk to anybody or I'll kill you. He's so protective. So she's been around for a while. Because I was like, oh shit, that's her too.
Yeah. And I also didn't realize too, like, so when I was like looking at people who were mentioned Debbie earlier, I did not realize that Debbie is Liza Wheel, who is on How to Get Away with Murder. She was also on Gilmore Girls and not realize that either. She actually was a regular on both shows.
Paris Geller.
Yeah. And I remember, and I mostly remember from How to Get Away with Murder because that show had me in a chokehold for its entire run. But she when I looked it up, I was like, oh, I guess I can see it in her face. But like at first glance, I didn't recognize her as that actress. But yeah, like a lot of familiar faces in this. Like, good for Jennifer Morrison. Like, how do you like on your resume? I was Ghost Girl and Stir of Echoes, which probably made her an easy candidate for Urban Legends Final Cut.
But then she was great in House. She had blonde hair, and I mean,
not dead.
That was prestige TV, you know.
Yeah, she got to be alive and not have wet hair and be pasty. That was great. It's a good run for her. So we do like at the end of this give scores for the movies, however you want to score, whether it's a letter grade, letterbox up to 5 stars, or out of 10, like whatever you want to do. The floor is yours. What would you grade Stir of Echoes? And whoever wants to go first.
Go ahead, Aaron.
I'm gonna give it like a solid B, not a B plus.
Okay.
I'm gonna give it a solid B. I'm gonna give us. I mean, the acting's fine. The story's entertaining. It never feels slow. It's a fun mystery. I mean, it's funny, but it's also dark. It's spooky. It's a pretty solid package.
No, I agree. I'd give it 4 out of 5. 4 out of 5. It is good. It does the job. I think pretty much anybody could watch this movie. You know what I mean? There's nothing too violent.
There's no nudity. There's not really any swearing.
Right. I mean, if I had a complaint, it would be like just that it's not anything new. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like we've seen it before, but it's done well and the performances are done well. The mood is good. But
yeah. I'll go with the B as well. I think it does what it needs to do. It does it well. The acting is really good, like you said. I think it's atmospheric. And also I think it is. If someone is like reluctant because like, oh, I don't like scary movies, this is like a good one to watch because it's not too scary. And also I think the whole like I said, for some people that don't want to admit that like they enjoyed a horror film, all right,
it's a
you don't have to call it. You're gonna be like, oh, well, I thought it was more of a mystery thriller. That's what they'll probably call it,
right? Like Longlegs. It's a mystery.
Yeah, they won't want to call it a horror movie. But yeah, I think it does its job well. I mean, it's just man, still a product of bad timing. And also that would be a product of bad timing, not just for The Sixth Sense, but like you also got beat out by Stigmata, which wasn't like compared. The reviews to Stigmata compared to this are like night and day. Like this, I think this has a 67% on Rotten Tomatoes. Stigmata is even worse. It's like super, super low. I don't think it's in like the 20s or 30s. It's really bad. I did get it on Blu-ray because I didn't have it on Blu-ray. And I remember I still haven't watched it. Still, like I haven't even like opened it yet. But I remember like when I watched it like years ago, I remember being entertained by it.
Yeah.
And like
now I'm scared. Now I'm scared. This could be another Highlander situation where I'm like, this is the greatest movie ever. And then you watch it again, you're like, what the hell?
Well, I remember Patricia Arquette being decent in it, and this is also the year that Gabriel Byrne he played a priest in Stigmata, and then he played the devil. And in the days, he got to play both in 1999, which is 1999 was a great year for a lot of things in movies. I mean, not necessarily Gabriel Byrne getting to play like a man of God and the devil, but at the same year. But
that's range.
Kudos to him.
Gabriel Byrne was a hot ticket for 5 years, and then he disappeared.
And then something happened. What? Like
Chaz Palminteri had like 3 seasons, and then burned out. Gone.
Dude, I'm glad you said that. Like a 5-year, he had 5 years to make something happen, and he kind of
did. Usual Suspects. I mean, they were all banging, you know.
Yeah.
5 years is 5 years. I'll take it.
5 years.
It's a pretty good run, and then he ended up popping up in Hereditary, which is a good, another good.
Oh yes.
I love.
Very upsetting. All that Ari Aster shit is so upsetting.
Yeah, those 2 movies are on the list. And this guy was like, I kind of want to pick one of those, but I don't get frustrated watching them again. So I was like,
well, let's watch Midsummer again. The more I watch it, the more I like it.
I actually love that movie a lot. And then if you have like a bunch of time, you can just watch the director's cut, which is like really, really long on top of the movie also already being long. Yeah. Well,
is there more menstrual drinking in the director's cut?
Sweet Jesus.
Something's wrong with lemonade. Is this pink lemonade?
So I didn't. I will say this before we wrap up. Someone said, and I didn't feel this way, that the boyfriend, who they were like, well, in the theatrical cut, it's clear that he's kind of a dick, and they were like, in the director's cut, there's like a little wiggle room. I was like, what? I think you're making up that wiggle room because I thought he was a dick in both versions of the movie. Like,
I haven't seen the director's cut, but he was dick from day one.
He was not supportive of her feelings.
Yeah, anything.
Right. He was
if anyone deserved their comeuppance, it's him.
In my mind, he was just one of those typical dudes who's too weak to dump the girl that he doesn't really care about. So he just kind of strings her along.
Shit about her, and then still goes back to have sex with her because she's
there. Seems annoyed that like she was like, oh, you have all this trauma. Like he's just annoyed by like Jesus, just dump her. I don't know, but
he can't
really dump
comment her. Was enough. That should have sealed his fate.
Yeah, I actually had never been more. I mean, one of the top like issue of a comeuppance in the movie. I was like, yeah, he deserved everything that happened to him. By the time that movie wrapped up, I was like, thank God. Oh God! Well, I forgot how fun it was to like chat with you guys about.
Thanks for having us.
About the cool thing is that like everyone that comes on doesn't always come on with like their style from their show, right? They try to like adapt and like we'll just talk about the movie how you want to talk about the movie, and I like that both times that it's clear that like it's the comedic edge of it, and I love that because I love to laugh, but also too that you can also fit in like, hey, we can talk about where things work, we can how movies work, so you can be serious, but I just love that you keep the comedic edge from like your own show. So like I welcome it with open arms, and I will not let this much more time pass before having you guys on again, because like I will figure out a way to make it happen. Like I just wish I should have just had a horror movie podcast. I would have.
Well, we got to have you on our show too.
That's true, and of course the deep dive spinoff that could be any genre. So like, I'll talk horror movies all day. It doesn't even have to be September or October.
We can just discuss the greatest hits of Wim Wenders. So that
there we go.
We'll start with Buena Vista Social Club, and then move on to Wings of Desire.
There we go. Well, I want to thank you guys both for joining me for talking about Stir of Echoes and making it a lot of fun, and also agreeing that the wife is the unsung hero of that movie. In case no one, anyone that watches it, you will quickly realize that she is the unsung hero of the film.
She is a saint. You all should want wives just like that.
A fucking saint that's just gonna let you dig holes in your yard and like not really be upset, be kind of upset.
Not go out there and have a meltdown. What the fuck are you doing to my yard? God damn it!
She's not gonna divorce you, let alone separate. She's just gonna like give you your space. Give you your space.
Honey, I'll be back in a week.
To figure out your premonition shit. Like, yeah. And then not to mention all the shit with her son. She's like, I gotta deal with him too. I do find when we talk about the creepy things, I do love the way it ends where I think they're on their way to their new house, and the kid can like hear every like basically, I guess
it's
dead
the
person.
Fucking Sixth Sense. It's
it is the Sixth Sense. It is, but it's still like in its own right. In its own right, pretty creepy within the movie.
They just needed a cyclist peeking in the window.
Yeah, and I guess it's so like deafening that he has to like cover his ears. Like poor kid, like he doesn't
poor
want
baby.
This. He didn't even ask for this gift. Like, you know.
No, he'll become like Donnie Wahlberg in the beginning of Sixth Sense.
Yeah, and I guess what that meant to me is that like that's just going to carry on to their new home. They're just going to have the same problems. Someone probably is going to have been killed in their new home. They need to like find all that out before they move into their new house. No Samanthas, no missing girls, no nothing. Like they need something that was just built. And with their luck, like someone got buried underneath the foundation of their house, of their new home.
Like poltergeist.
Poltergeist. Yeah. Yeah. We're just making it that Stir of Echoes like just rips off other.
Exactly. It just morphs and morphs. He grows up to be Michael J. Fox in The Frighteners. It just continues.
Yeah, they're all in the same universe, guys. Oh man. Well, this was fun. I'm so glad you guys joined me for this. Again, tell everyone where they can find your podcast, the name and all that, wherever they can look you guys up.
We're the podcast that wouldn't die. We are all across social media. We're on YouTube. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere the finer podcasts are available. So check us out.
Nice. And we will. I will link all their stuff underneath the description of this episode, so you guys can easily find them as well. Again, I had so much fun. When I come to do this, especially after I get off work, sometimes I'm like, oh, I wonder if I'll have the energy for it. But you guys helped out a lot, just making it fun and making it funny and making it light. So absolutely loved it. And again, thank you for joining us. If you need to find Back to the Blockbuster, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Good Pods, wherever you want to like look us up and listen. We don't care as long as you listen to us. We also have a YouTube channel as well. They're going to be uploading more of our episodes on that within the next couple of weeks. So subscribe if you don't subscribe already. We have a lot more coming up for Tales of Horror. I think the next one I'm recording next week is The Prowler, and then Wes Craven's New Nightmare. So that'll be the next two that I'll be recording. And it's gonna be a fun rest of September and October. Can't wait to finish this one out. I'm gonna miss it when it's over. When it was over last year, I felt like a little like I have to go back to talking about like prestige Oscar movies after all this is over.
Murder Her Son.
yeah. After all this is over. But this is always fun, and look out for more from Back to the Blockbuster. And until next time, peace out, guys.
Bye.